All right, we should be live. And yep, so we got one person asking, two people. All right, so we're live now. Thanks for waiting for us. My name is Pedro. I am the GM and creator of World Walkers, and with me is Shannon, our co-host for today.
Hello.
Shannon is from Gamers Table Society, which you can find at gamerstable.com, right?
Yep, and also on like iTunes and Stitchers and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Wherever fine podcasts are distributed.
Yep.
Do you want to explain exactly what Gamers Table is? What's the sales pitch? What's your elevator pitch when people are cornered viciously by you and the rest of the Gamers Table crew?
Yeah, we like to really like crowd around them. There's so many of us. So
there's like it's like a street gang, like the street sharks of.
First we start snapping at them, and then we do some sick dance moves. No, it's a roundtable podcast discussion where we just talk about like gaming and like different areas of gaming. So like sometimes we'll talk about like character class, sometimes we'll talk about just like we recently talked about age in gaming, where I talked about Ertleby, of course.
I told Olivia about that last night. She was like, she's very verklempt.
She's one of the best examples of playing an old person and also not playing like an orphaned murder hobo.
Yeah, but it's one of my favorite actually, I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts myself, to be honest, but like it's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to because you can tell everyone's friends, everyone is real, and it feels like you guys are a group of friends first and then a show second. Like you guys have the mics on, and I think it's Eric who's really good at keeping you guys on task. Is it Eric or Jason?
No, it's Eric.
Oh, Eric, yeah.
Jason's the best at keeping us off task.
Okay. There's so many of you, I have to be honest, like I'm still trying to keep everyone.
Like, I definitely understand.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I mean, obviously, like you guys are really good at staying on task when Eric is bringing you guys back together. But you guys, I don't know, it just feels like we're hanging out with you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. It actually started before I even met them. It started as a way, to get that chat session out, because you waste so much time of your game night, like just talking to each other.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And so one of the guys had the idea of, hey, why don't we record this and release it, and it'll just be us talking before game night. And so that was kind of the original concept of the show.
Yeah, it's a smart idea. We do that with World Walkers. We a lot of the outtakes you hear afterwards, there's a decent chunk of that shows up afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the outtakes. I think I got that idea from Drunks and Dragons. I was listening to them, and a lot of their outtakes seemed like they were coming from the before the game talk. And the upcoming podcast, World Walkers COG, there's a lot of that. There's so much of it that we might just do outtake bonus podcasts.
Yeah,
there's like so much we leave on the cutting, on the editing floor, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That we might have to do that, which is this Sunday will be the first 3 episodes will come out on Patreon, and then it'll be without the theme song. We're still working on the theme song, but everything else will come out, and then Thursday the episodes will come out for public. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah. But thanks again to Shannon for coming out and filling in the spot. We've got Enzo coming in about 1:30, and you guys can grill him with whatever questions you want to. Callie is okay. The World Walkers COG is very much a different group than the World Walkers. Callie's demonstrating that with one of the not safe for work jokes that definitely got put on the editing room floor. Thanks for bringing that up, Callie. with her skeet daggers joke. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Callie. Callie can explain that in the chat if she wants to. I'm not bringing that up. If you have questions, leave them in the chat and we'll get to those as we can. But first and foremost, is there anything that you wanted to bring up before we get into the itinerary for today, Shannon?
So sorry, I had to grab my notebook.
And
So
I'm living off my phone right now.
Oh, I guess I'm kind of jumping into the itinerary. I don't know. I don't
Sure.
know how this works.
It's pretty loose and like we just kind of jump all over the place, to be honest.
Okay, perfect. That's how I roll.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that I've had like since I started listening to World Walkers was, have you ever thought of publishing this like as an adventure, as a campaign world?
Sort of, yeah. One of the biggest problems I have is that I can't afford an editor. So I would like to one day. I would like to I'd like to like my big dream is to publish each world.
Mm-hmm.
So which means in theory seven books. So it's pretty expensive. Yeah, so like right now it just kind of lives inside the campaign guide, which is like a quick little, I think it's like 30-some pages right now that I can just like send out as a PDF. People can grab it and they can just live inside the races, sub races. The newest version has the summoner, which is like the first time I've ever shown like the public essentially like a class I've written, which is terrifying. I think it's he's in the chat right now. James kind of inspired me to just stop being a baby and put it out there, because like I've shown players the summoner. It's been kind of like when I used to just run games at the local game shop, I had no problem showing it to them and getting feedback and stuff, but I was way too scared to put it online. So far no one's hated me yet for it, but I did not want to show anybody it. But no, I do want to put it out there. Where actually I was talking to Callie about putting a wiki together and slowly putting the wiki on the actual website, so that it's going to be filled with, when I read descriptions on the podcast, like when they first show up in Cosmic, that's like a pre-written description. I want to put those as like the headers, the openings to the wikis, and then people can help me maintain it and all that. But yeah, I'd like to. I've actually written like Frankie can tell me if he remembers how many pages it is. I think there's like a 200-page adventure I wrote. It could be less than that. It's called Sky High. And I had an editor. I worked with an editor to edit it and everything. It's completely written. It's all done. But then the game system that it was written for kind of collapsed, and they decided to make a new edition of it, and I didn't have the resources to rewrite it. It was for the Cortex role-playing system. It's the one that they made the Marvel Heroic game in. But that's where the Captain, the Gambler, and Claiborne come from.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, I wrote it like half a foot inside Cog without ever saying Cog, and then when that collapsed, I just finished putting it inside Cog.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool. The idea is that the story was that the captain enters an airship race, and he does not have the fastest ship. There's no way he can win this race. However, he has paid Claiborne to board the ship with him, and he's paid you to join the ship with him because he has a secret on the ship that's going to guarantee that he can win. He just needs you to protect him when he tries to pull it off. And it's going to be the race is through the Durango Mountains, where the Venari live. Yeah. So
you mentioned the summoner. Is that Brummelstone's new class?
Yep. Yeah, and then the summoners are different on every world. So on On Vasa's homeworld, they use the standard earth, fire, wind, and water, and then on other worlds they have to use different elements because the each world has 4 elements that are considered the prime material elements of that world. So
I'm really curious about so like how does that I want to know what the elements are for each world.
oh yeah. Well, like on Cog, like as the worlds have developed, for some reason the what the world considers its prime elements have changed over time. So like on Cog, the prime elements are arcane, metal, steam, and fire.
Okay.
Yeah, they've changed from earth, wind, fire, and water.
They've like upgraded to
Yeah.
different.
On Rolanus, I believe it's plant. It's plant, sound, light, and darkness.
Very thematic, very story.
Yeah. So they keep changing on each world, and then yeah.
So one of the other things that I had wanted to ask about was Tompkins. So like we know a lot about him and he's the linchpin, but also there's so much we don't know. So with Tompkins, like it's so weird because it's like an amnesia character who doesn't realize he has amnesia.
Yeah, like he thinks he's fine.
Yeah, and he also thinks like he doesn't. There's also like a pattern of like Tompkins being like, "Oh no, this is this way," and then it's not, and like he hasn't put together that he can't go off what he knows. There's a question in there somewhere. I don't know what it is. So what made you decide like that this character was going to be like this quasi amnesiac?
Well, part of it was like I wanted to make an NPC that part of it was necessity. I liked the idea of making an NPC that like had all the answers but could not give them away.
Yeah.
Like because like it was the necessity of like I wanted like if he knows everything, if he can do everything,
why does he need the world walkers?
Right. I liked the idea that like potentially he's a Mary Sue, and he's worthless. Like, because I was thinking of the idea that like so many DMs put their favorite character in the group. They make these like ridiculously badass characters. Like, okay, you guys have made your characters. Now, here's my wizard warrior character. He's got double all of your hit points, and he's going to be the amazing, like, and I just liked making the opposite. Tompkins actually does not have a character class.
Yeah.
He has like almost no stats. He never levels up. He does. I don't give him experience.
I do feel like he's very Vash the Stampede. I don't know if you've watched.
Yo, well, God, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm a huge weeb, so like.
but like he's Vash the Stampede, but he doesn't get his moments.
Yeah, he's Vash the Stampede, but like Vash the Stampede realizes he's really good at what he does and owns it and hides it, whereas Tompkins doesn't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know. If he's got skills, he still doesn't know. And the group does not seem to want to inspire him. Like if he does have skills, the group could give a shit less. Like they demand out of him, but they don't inspire him to pursue it. Like God damn it, Tompkins. As opposed to like, come on, Tompkins. Believe in yourself. They're like, fucking do it. What's wrong with you, you piece of shit? Like,
I feel like that every time they do have a moment where, like, I think it was like 2 episodes ago, they had a moment where they're like, "We got to be there for Tompkins. Like, he's going through a lot," and then immediately they're like, "Damn it, Tompkins!"
now put the leash on him.
Yeah, I'm gonna tie this rope on him.
Yeah.
You just had this moment.
But it's also like the idea that they, the more that he's exposed to stuff, the more he learns, the more that he remembers. But that is kind of the dilemma they're in, is that they don't feel that they have. Well, there's two things. They certainly don't feel like, to be fair to the World Walkers, they don't feel like they have time to teach him or spend time on him. They also don't have the patience or tolerance for Tompkins.
That's the biggest problem.
And so, like, I don't think they've ever thought about taking him around to, because what would happen if they took a day and exposed him to the world?
Mm-hmm. I think it would end up helping them.
Right.
I mean,
they're not spending time helping an amnesiac discover himself.
mm-hmm.
So, like, for instance, they show up to the tower and he's like, "I built this, and they're like, "All right, cool, that's awesome." Anyway, so
you built the answers.
and they take him at his word on everything.
Huh?
So they take him on his word on everything too. So it's like, Tompkins, how do we get past this? He goes, "Well, I didn't build these traps." And they're like, "Oh, okay."
I do like that there have been a few times where you could, well, like as a listener, I don't know how it's like in the moment as a player, but like as a listener, you can kind of tell like Tompkins is misinforming you. You're trying to hit that "Hey GM, tell me what to do" button, and you're using Tompkins, the amnesiac who doesn't know what's going on, to do it.
Well, there's definitely two possibilities. Possibility one is that Tompkins does not remember anything about these rooms and these traps. Possibility two is that Tompkins is terrified to tell you that he built the things that are beating the shit out of you.
Yeah. Well, and I also think like so. Well, as I know you're telling me that as the person who made it, but also like I kind of read it as like the whole point of the tower is to test them to see what they're made of. If Tompkins gives you the answer, you're not being tested.
Well, that's what, like, there's one of my favorite moments. I actually clipped it out and saved it for myself so I can listen to it again. Is there's a moment where Roberto walks to the Archon and he says, he gives him the riddle. He's like, "I am needed for this riddle, though I cannot solve it without you." And then he looks at the Archon and the Archon's like, "Are you asking me to break the riddle?" And he's like, "Maybe a hint or something? I don't know." And he's like, "You have tried to subvert the tower. You've tried to go around it. This. I caution you. Whatever you take into that tower is only going to make it worse. I caution you." And there's a moment of silence, and then Megan goes, "Caution." That's the answer to the riddle. And like that is like encompasses the World Walkers podcast to me. It's like he's giving them the warning, like, "Stop doing this. You're only making the tower harder." And she goes, "Samsonite." I was way off, like Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Like, and then when they go into the tower, if you remember, if you listen closely, they're giving off words to try to solve the riddle, and she goes, "Caution." And then, yeah, like Callie says in the chat, she's like, "Or Tompkins was sworn to secrecy to never reveal the secrets of the tower." Dun dun.
Which he kind of said
he has said multiple times he can't tell anyone.
Yeah, like it's specifically about the artifact, but it's like, yeah, why would he tell you? Like, he's sworn to secrecy, and obviously, like, who Tompkins is, like, he takes that very serious.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned like Tompkins' competency campancy, and one of the times where it's been actually the only time where Tompkins may have had a moment happened off camera, so to speak. Uh, I feel like with when everyone was in the nightmare world, and well, everyone but Vasa and Ertl. Well, Ertl was eventually, but
Yeah.
when everybody was in the nightmare world, like Tompkins was well and done way before everybody else. And I was just
Yeah.
kind of curious, like, what was Tompkins' nightmare? How did he handle that?
Yeah, so that's actually one of my favorite moments. I really like it's very since I love Tompkins' backstory so much, it's very hard
When they
to
don't ask?
care. Well, it's like it's very hard to carefully parse out his backstory because I just want to like share it all right away. But yeah, that was like everyone else. You see them struggle with their nightmares and battle it out, and so you would imagine that Tompkins would have a really rough time. But you see time and time again that Tompkins seems to handle himself in the dreamscape pretty well, and I think it's sometimes it can be easy to forget that like Tompkins built Mercurius, and
Mhm.
Tompkins existed in the dreaming for a long, long time. So like when they do finally find Tompkins, his dreamscape is completely quiet and seems pretty settled. So when they find him, everything's settled. He's standing by a bed, and it's Brummelstone tells him like, "Hey, it's time to go," and he says, "Okay, let's go," and he's kind of already done and resolved. So whatever his nightmares were, they seem to be revolved around this small house. That story kind of unfolds more. I think anyone anyone who remembers as much of that scene as possible, that will pay off, kind of soonish, because like that all comes back later on. But yeah, his backstory. I don't know. I really enjoy his backstory. But yeah, I'm always trying to like leave hints about to try to remind people how competent Tompkins is when it comes to the dream side of things. It's just that he's never involved in that stuff. I mean, sometimes they leave him in a small shop in Cog. So,
I like that it's also one of those things where it's just an assumed
oh,
incompetence.
here we go.
Like, it does.
Enzo.
Oh, hi, Enzo.
Hello. Hey Shannon, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to meet you. Pedro has talked so much shit about you. It's
Oh
like
my
now
god, that's the most. We barely got to play last night.
that's all we were doing.
We were just talking about how much you guys love Tompkins and treat him with respect.
Yes. No, absolutely. I love Tompkins.
No, we were talking earlier before the game started about how like you and Wesley seem to love Tompkins.
Yeah, he's great.
And then there's others
Who
who might not like Tompkins as much.
I do like that lately with the trials, like even though it's very clear Vasa hates Tompkins, like with like when he was in the coma and stuff, I like the little things that she did to like show she does actually care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a heads up, just to make sure you know, in the podcast, Enzo, you guys have cleared the first room. You have gotten past the tiles, and you're about to head into the second room.
Okay.
That's as far as you've gotten. Just to help you remember, so you're like, oh, so they haven't found out that I'm a clone yet or something. You're like,
okay, so we fell off the tiles. We fell into the hole.
Yeah.
Or into the abyss, and then
That's it.
That's
all that's happened.
No one knows what happens after they fell. It's like
no, you know they know that you lived.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
Okay.
In my head, I did rename this episode "World Walker Suicide Pact."
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually wondering, Pedro. Like, I thought it would have been perfect if you just like cut off the episode once everyone fell down.
I was nice. I was gonna cut it off at first when Vasa fell. When she's like, I like this pit. It's comfortable or whatever. I was gonna leave it right there. Originally I was gonna cut it off like one of the fun facts, I do a lot of stuff with music with the World Walkers podcast. I like to do a lot of like musical callbacks. So when everybody had to introduce themselves to the Narmul, everyone kind of had their own like theme song. That was when because like Vasa guards her past so much that I've never had to play any Vasa specific music. So when she talks, you finally get to hear her song, which is like that's her song, and like that's Rollum's song as well. The city that she's from on Menroth.
Yeah.
When her tiles break and she falls, and she's getting ready to fall anyway, right before Megan starts to hyperventilate, that is Rollum's music again. As she's like defiant against the puzzle, because that's totally like Rollum is defiant, right? When she finally falls and it seems like she's dead, which she would have been had you guys moved on, the song that plays is from the Patreon episode The Travelers, and it's called Bittersweet from Kevin MacLeod. And originally I was going to end the episode with just that song playing in full.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Cool.
But my goal is I want to get through this whole section as fast as possible. So I want to try to do a floor every episode if possible. Okay. So I was like, no, it would be great in Tortures, but I don't want to lose the trust of the listeners. So I don't want to keep cliffhangers and people start feeling like, oh, it's a cliffhanger, but no one ever dies on this thing. So
yeah,
like people will know when someone dies. Like, so yeah.
I did like with Vasa. I like that Jane just completely accepted Vasa's death for a little bit. She's like, right? I'm fine if she dies like this. This is how she'd want to go. Being true to herself, saying, fuck you, dungeon.
It's hardcore. Yeah. She has a backup idea in her head. But like it's been interesting because I've offered to run like side games before, like if we wanted to take a break for a minute. And I think Jane is the one that has said she's Vasa. Like there's like it's interesting because I know like Shannon, you guys play a lot of games.
We play a lot
of games, but the idea of playing not Vasa is really weird. As Callie's pointing out too, I think Callie's pointing out the idea like, is there a point, Enzo, where you realized that like Tompkins died with Vasa in that moment?
No, I honestly like I have I honestly need to listen to it again.
Yeah, because listeners were like terrified when the bag fell with Vasa, and you guys didn't notice that Tompkins was gone too.
Yeah, like I completely forgot about that moment. Honestly,
yeah, everyone forgot about Tompkins falling in the pit too.
Sorry. When I heard it, like, I was a little bit confused about like what Megan was doing because she's like, well. Like, I don't know how she phrased it. I thought Tompkins was on a platform because she was using him as a test subject. And then it's like, no, she kept him in the bag. She doesn't care about him. Okay. But until you said Tompkins fell with her, I was like, oh.
Oh, man. One of the questions that came up, Enzo, was how did you figure out so fast that it was a puzzle, or that jumping off was the answer?
I honestly did not know it was the answer.
So what was the thought process though?
It was just like, this is more like a semi-meta thing. It was more like, I don't know if Pedro will actually kill all of us at the same time. I mean, not to say that it's not possible, because it
Sure.
totally is, but that was just what my thought was at the time. I'm just like, Pedro, like I can see him killing one of us. I don't know if he can kill all of us. Not that, like,
Sure.
I'm sure he would. I'm sure you would at some
Do you
point.
realize now that I will?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
Yeah.
I do like that you use the meta as an excuse when, like, 2 or 3 episodes before, I think it was in the outtakes or maybe just after, Pedro had admitted that if you guys had answered the Narmul's questions incorrectly, he would have killed you all.
Oh, fuck.
And then you're like, oh, I'm gonna jump off this cliff.
Oh my god, I'm always in this like point, like, set of mind where I'm like, no, we're good, we're fine.
It was like when Tin's getting the shit rocked out of her by cliffs and rocks, and you're like, nah, let it play, let it play. It's gonna be fine.
No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just like my mindset.
Yeah, Enzo's just very cheerful. Like, Enzo's a great player to have because Enzo's like,
we'll be fine. We'll heal stuff. We got potions, or if we don't, we got bandages. And if we don't got bandages, we'll just die together.
Yeah. Well, like in the Rolanus, or in the Refugees of Rolanus game last week, they had a level. They've got the Kaladar with them, the Desert King of Bastok. He's like a level 19 fighter with them, and they're level 5, and they're fighting a level 20 Scion. And I had the Scion take control of the fighter, and he jumped the level 5 Ranger, the Horizon Walker they had with him, and like he just unleashed like 2 attacks, took him down, and then like basically like I had him like drop the character and then run him through with a blade, so he was like death save 2. So I will kill all of the Road Walkers if I can. Like, yeah. No, I think
you know the phrase "kill your lovelies." Pedro takes that to heart.
No, so who's was that? James. Yeah, James, like, did they die? Like, obviously not ultimately, but maybe for a bit. No, they were basically like in holding. So the room was holding Vasa and Tompkins. Because if you remember, the way it works is at the end of that episode, everyone lands at the same time. So the idea was the puzzle was waiting to see what they were going to do. If anybody had left that room, anyone who did not go with them would have died. So it was just waiting to kill whoever didn't get taken with them. So there's no wrong answer. Like if the answer was 4 of us should leave, then 2 died. It's cool. It's just there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's, I guess, is the answer to that puzzle.
Yeah.
Like, but that was the scary part about the tower, though, is that the tower doesn't have any exits after the first floor.
Yeah.
So if you only go with 4 people, the encounter challenge rating system becomes skewed. I hadn't really thought about that part. Huh.
Good thing you all went together.
But I assumed that you hear it in the next episode. It's like I figured everyone's guilt complex wouldn't allow them to solve the puzzle any other way.
I think that definitely worked on me. Absolutely, just like I don't want to die. I want Jane to die alone.
Yeah, but there's so many times that the game ends and I go to bed and my wife will ask like, do we still have a podcast? And I'm like, yeah, why? She's like, did you fucking kill them yet? And I'm like, no, not yet. I mean, almost. And she's like, why are you doing this? Just don't fucking kill them. Who cares? Like, why would you kill them all? And I was like, baby, it's not me. It's like the bullywugs or something. Or like, she's like, no, it's fucking you. Stop doing that. Like, because she knows, she played in one of my games once.
I like that you're even less safe now because he has a backup podcast with World Walker's Cause.
I know, right? It's just like, wow. I mean, I got like already a second character lined up and everything. So
Willow.
It's just my second character is just Roberto too.
We had a player who he made Gandalf, and then when he died, he's like, well, then there's Gandalf too, his son. I was like, Gandalf was 20. He's like, no, Gandalf was 40. And then there was Gandalf the Third. He's like, well, how old was Gandalf? What's up, Willow? And then he's like, well, then it's like by the end of it, Gandalf the Third was like 60. Gandalf the Second was 40. Gandalf the Third, like he kept aging him, and he got mad, so he kept changing him because like one other player was killing him, and so he got mad. Because like, yeah, so there's Gandalf the Third was 60, Gandalf the Second was 40, Gandalf the Third was 20, and then he was tired of him hunting his family down, so he made a fourth character and he named him Kaladar.
Oh, okay.
And that's the Desert King of Gastok.
And their secret leader name was Gandalf 4.
No, but what's up? Hit the button in the top right of the big remote. But yeah, so fun times. Let me think what else. There's another question for Enzo.
Are we live right now?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's just rolling his shoulders, just like shiki.
I totally forgot.
You're like the Shaq gif on here, just
for some reason I thought we weren't. I don't know why.
The top right one.
To hang out with me and Pedro.
I totally forgot.
Oh man. But what else did we have?
Well, going back to the previous discussion of like the meta decision that Enzo made, I do like the juxtaposition of like you had Shane who's like, I don't trust the DM. I don't trust you, Pedro. I think you're trying to screw us over. And at the same time, you have Enzo who's like, I'm gonna jump off this cliff because I trust you, Pedro. You're not gonna kill us all.
Yeah, like they like two different like reasons for the same action.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
I was curious. So, what would the show? Which I don't know if you want to answer this or not. I don't know if it might ruin things, or even since Enzo's so into metagaming, it might ruin things for playing. But what would happen if Tompkins died, if they didn't take care of him? Oh, Pedro's.
Yeah. I would be sad though. Roberto would be very sad.
Tompkins great.
What's up now? What was the question?
So I was curious, what would happen if Tompkins died? Like, because he's the linchpin of the story. If they don't have Tompkins, they don't know where to go next.
The game becomes much more difficult. Yeah. Let me think. Well, that was actually a very very possible option because they didn't have to take. My games are much more sandbox than I think sometimes people think they are. Because way back in episode 2, which was I think Curious About Mercurius, they almost left without Tompkins. Like they don't have to take Tompkins. Megan turned around and talked him into going with them at the last moment. What do you want to watch? There's everything on Netflix. My wife left to go take care of her grandma, who like she can't use her her right leg right now.
Oh.
Okay, you surf around and watch something. Okay, baby. Okay. Okay, we'll go. Can you go in the other room? Because the sound might catch on the microphone, okay? Yeah. I'll be there a little bit. Yeah, so what were you saying? Sorry.
We were talking about
oh yeah, they didn't have to take Tompkins. Like Tompkins, like that was just like if they don't, like, I'll answer it in this way. If they didn't take Tompkins originally, they would have had to have done a lot of research on the worlds and tried to take a much more exploratory approach to where everything was. They would have had to have like asked around and tried to, almost kind of like when they showed up in Hogarth on Obrimos, and they were like, they had heard a rumor about, you know, the shard being used as a lantern. Like the game would have been a lot more like that.
Yeah.
But with Tompkins is able to kind of retrace where he goes and what the events of his life, and they're always kind of like near important areas, or like at least with Rolanus, they don't seem to be anywhere near where he needs to be. But like with Rolanus, they're on a path that doesn't seem as of yet to be like, Rolanus is all story. So even though they're nowhere near where they need to be, there must be a reason why they're so far away. So like, why would they be so far away from where they need to be unless they were supposed to come to Ozen Tower?
Yeah. I do like that all of Rolanus has been like really testing the characters and really like, it's just test after test after test. Like,
and they hate it. Like, as of now, Enzo, what do you think of Rolanus at this point? If you like, not what happens after Ozen Tower, but like up to Ozen Tower, what were your thoughts on Rolanus? Because Jane, up to this point, hates Rolanus.
It's very.
No, I honestly, I was enjoying it a lot because I felt like it was a very different take. I felt it was a really interesting way to kind of be in a world, you know, because all the other previous worlds we've had, which just kind of like, it's very, for lack of a better word, typical, like fantasy setting. Whereas this one is a little bit more interesting. It kind of encourages people to role play, which I thought was really fun, but also challenging because I personally feel like I'm not as strong as a role player. So it kind of gave me opportunities to stretch those muscles, I guess. So yeah, no, it was fun. Well, not to say it was challenging, definitely, but it was a good challenge.
And the bluebirds are huge on this world. So if anyone listened to the outtakes on one of the most recent episodes, did you hear us laughing for like 10 minutes about birds?
Yeah, it sounded like someone drew a bluebird that was the size of a pumpkin. Is that what happened?
So what happened was this. Did we lose Enzo? Might have lost Enzo. We'll see what happened. What happened was this. He's walking down the path, and then I described like a bluebird or a blue jay, one of those, a bluebird, like he flying around him, and Enzo says that he extends his finger for it to land on him. So he's like, I extend my finger, but you have to be able to see what's happening for it to be so funny. Oh yeah, we lost him. Okay, we'll wait till he comes back. He extends his finger for it to land on him, right? And then I said, it does. It's like it swirls around and then lands on his finger. And he goes, oh, I go out to pet it. And I'm trying to keep my shit together. But then someone else starts laughing. Is like, does Enzo not know how big birds are? Or something like that. Like, how big are birds in Canada? Like fucking moose birds? And we lose it and we can't stop laughing. But like everything we say is in reference to visual, so nothing makes sense. And he's just like, it's something like this. It's just the most ridiculous fucking. He's just moose birds or something. Like we cannot get it out, and so I left it all in the outtakes.
Enzo had.
But yeah, it's just he's just like. Just. Oh man, but yeah. So Yeah, the group is, I think Megan and Jane hate Rolanus. Cannot stand Rolanus. Olivia seems to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she really it
at suits her.
Episodes, it seems that she enjoys coming up with the ideas of like, oh, this would make a good story, so this is what we should do.
Yeah.
Because she seems to have really embraced it, like the theme of Rolanus. It's been my favorite world so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's similar to like what Enzo is saying. Like a lot of them, like they aren't because they have all this history, but like it's like what you would expect when playing D&D. Whereas Rolanus is like that's something I would expect when I'm playing like a different game that's more like let's do something really cool, like
yeah,
wild cool things. Whereas D&D seems more like structured.
Here we go. Welcome back.
Hello. Sorry.
I was just
Yeah, we were talking about the big birds.
Blue bird.
Yeah, I was so ashamed I had to fake a power outage.
Oh man.
Well, we've moved on to the world of Rolanus, so
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I was really nervous to run Rolanus when you guys first jumped in. But I was gonna reveal like one of the big secrets. I cut it out. I was so embarrassed when we first revealed it on the podcast that I actually cut it out, and it never got put into the actual podcast.
Why were you embarrassed, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it was your guys' I forget who embarrassed me, but it was somebody's reaction to it that I cut it all out. Ozen Tower is Enzo.
Yeah, actually took me. It took me way too long to figure that out because I was like, oh, I see all the letters in my name. That's pretty cool, but I didn't realize.
So
that's so cute.
Well, it's more so. A lot of the references in Rolanus are based off of cartoonists. So when the World Walkers joined, I put them. Like when the players joined the game, I wrote them into the game as well.
Oh, that's so cool.
So, and let me see if I can. Hopefully, it doesn't mess up my screen over here. If it does, it'll look super professional. God damn it. Okay, sorry. Everyone watching was like, God damn it, Pedro, way to be professional. I'll pull up my notes if you guys stall for me for a second. But yeah, Ozen Tower is rearranged Enzo.
All right.
But everyone's in there.
I have so I like that also in Rolanus. Rolanus has seemed very Enzo based, so I like that that happened. I don't know if that was like the plan originally. I liked that so much of like his backstory, not his backstory of Brummelstone, but his own personal backstory has come out on Rolanus. Because like I didn't realize that he was an elemental until you told me.
I didn't either.
I have to every now and then kind of remind him.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right.
And I do like that a lot of it seems to have been not necessarily like set up to be your choice, but you've been taking the lead on a lot of things.
Yeah, no, that's also one of the reasons why I loved Rolanus, because like I feel like definitely in the past worlds, I've I've been kind of more in the background a little bit, just kind of reacting to stuff, which I don't mind at all. Like I do like being led as opposed to leading. So getting that opportunity to kind of just kind of like RP and also kind of tell people, hey, we're doing this, we're going this way. That was a lot of fun. It was definitely new territory, and again, pretty challenging. But yeah.
It turned out great. And I also love how, which we've already kind of talked about this, I just love how gung-ho you are for stuff. Pedro asks, do you accept the forest? And you're like, yeah, absolutely nothing bad can come of it.
Um, yeah. So, let me think. So I'll give you a couple of them. I don't have all of them right here, but let's see. We have the forest. One of the places they're supposed to go to is the Forest of the Ancients, and inside there are the Western Halls. West. Mount Walovich. Walovich is a play on Olivia's last name. That's like an older translation. They were already what's the other one? Castle Gilcrest is like an original version of Megan's last name. Like McKay's last name, if you trace it back to its origins.
That's so cool.
But then you also have things like Corsetto is the kingdom to the north. Danielle Corsetto is girls with slingshots. The court jester is Straub, Chris Straub from Chainsaw Suit. There's the court magician is Dresden Kodak. Southworth is the city they go to when they first the little village. Paul Southworth is a cartoonist. They visit a turtle named Kellett, Dave Kellett, Sheldon, Kellett's brother who was tortured, Kurtzel, which is Scott Kurtz. Yeah. So I like throughout the years as I've written Rolanus, I've always put in cartoonists as like little There's a
not notice that. Like I recognize when you point it out, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that comic. I know that comic. I know that comic.
But when I remember they gave me like a little bit of a teasing when I first told them and so I felt really embarrassed, so I cut it out of the podcast.
Aww.
And
so
then
anything else.
What?
So now you're not pointing out anything else.
Never again. No, yeah, I cut it out of the podcast. And then what was it? Wesley fucking tried to put me in there. And he's like his like he had a mentor named like Galicia or something like that. Ripped that shit out. So that's not in the fucking pod. Nice try, asshole. So he's like, no, you're in there too, and we're honest. And I was like, no, I'm not. Watch. I just cut it out.
Aww. He's trying to make it. I like it. I think you should put it back in.
I don't even know where it is. Like even if I wanted to.
Wes just have to bring it up again.
Yeah, but luckily he doesn't watch this, so it's too late.
I'm gonna send him a message on Twitter right now.
Yeah, so there's a little fun fact.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I eat up stuff like that, like especially in the games that I play. Like I love whenever GMs like sprinkle stuff, like either from other games that we've played or like from like pop culture or whatever. I'm like, I know that, I get that.
There's a whole bunch of crazy little stuff I put in the games all the time. I have to think of other stuff, but I hide a lot of really weird things in there.
I have to listen to all of World Walkers of the Inn and pull them out.
Man, there's a whole bunch of clues hidden in certain episodes, and I clip them out so that in an upcoming episode, once you guys hear that episode, I'm going to take all those clues and then I'm going to release like a compilation of all the clues so that you guys can hear that the clues were there the whole time for something.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was just telling the group about it last night.
So I recently had retweeted, someone had posted, it was like the closest you can feel to a ghost is whenever you're listening to the podcast and you have an answer that the players don't. And I feel that a lot with your podcast because like every once in a while they'll do things and it's like, that was from this episode. What? Why don't you remember that?
I do have a defense for that though, because I know that like during con season, sometimes we'll have like a whole month without playing.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely get it, because it's like a lot of times I'll like binge listen to the episode, so like I'll let like 3 to 5 stack up, and then I'll listen to them all.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times it's like I listened to it like a few hours ago. So, but every once in a while there's something that it's like, oh, I remember that from when you were on Mercurio. And
I was like, why don't you remember it? Damn it!
I know some people have asked what the answer to the riddle was. So I was gonna throw it out there too. If anyone hasn't been around for when I've talked about it, did you figure it out, Shannon?
I did not figure it out.
It's funny because the answer's in the podcast. Brummelstone figures it out twice and never uses it.
Really?
Yeah, right after he leaves the room, he goes, I wonder if it's something like words. Because he walks into the room and the entire room is covered in words. And then he casts comprehend languages and loses his mind for a moment. And then once he gets his mind back, they say a whole bunch of stuff. That's not the answer. They leave, and he's like, I wonder if it's something like words. And then Roberto says, is there anything in the room that might give us a clue as to what the answer is? And I was like, if there is, you haven't figured out what the clue is. And he's like, all right, what's in the room? I was like, nothing but all the words across the room. And he's like, all right. Shit, all right. And they go back in there and they say a bunch of stuff and they come back out. And then Brummelstone is like, I wonder if it's something like languages. What's the riddle again? I was like, I'm needed for this riddle, but I can't solve it without you. And then it's like, well, there's I and there's you. It's not that kind of riddle. Let's think of a whole bunch of words that have the letters I and you, though, just in case. And then when he says languages, everyone thinks for a bit and they go, I don't have an answer. Let's change the room.
Oh my god.
So the answer would have been either words or languages or some kind of variation on that. Like, he solves it twice but never takes it into the room with him.
Oh,
that's
so close.
But my favorite answer was they go in there and one of the first answers they do is they throw the Hobbit answer at him, which is time. Because that's everyone's answer to a riddle. In any game I've ever had, if I throw riddles, someone goes, time! Like, which is my favorite answer because they say it right away.
Well, yeah, but like we're gonna get it right one sooner or later. At some
But
point.
any game I've ever run, if I throw a riddle, someone says, time! And they say it right away. And if it was time, it wouldn't have worked if you could say it right away. But you don't need time if you can say it the first thing, right? So it makes me giggle every time.
So did you have ahead of time? Did you have like each room planned for each person, or?
Yeah, let me see. I wonder if I've.
We're gonna do this until they give up, and then.
Let me see. I think I had at least a couple rooms. Let's see. There's the normal section.
Someone had mentioned in chat that they were behind, and they asked about what we had just talked about. So I was responding to them in chat since they went into this for about 20 minutes.
Ooh, can you send me the link to this chat?
Oh, yeah.
I can send it in the.
Oh, yeah, if you could, that way I won't have to collect anything.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just gonna put it in the Zoom chat.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so there were 3 versions of the room. The first room was the riddle. If somebody else had walked in No, when they walked in, when Roberto walked in, it was asked sharpness of mind or wisdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he had said, if he had given the other answer, then it would have asked for the exact riddle.
Oh, so they would have had to repeat the riddle that they had already heard.
Word for word. Yeah. Let's see. And then if they would have gotten the answer wrong, they would have had seconds. They would have had to make like essentially one check to get out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Like instead of being able to just simply walk out of the room, they would have had to have make checks. And each person would have had to make a harder check than the last. Like the first person to make a check, like an athletics check, would have been able to get out of there. A deck save to get out of there. So like the first person makes a DC 10 check. The second person makes a DC 12 check, 14, and it would have escalated because like basically the ceiling's falling at such a rapid rate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did like the moment where you're like, you guys are in real time. I have the timer on my phone going.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what?
They hated me so much. I don't know if Enzo hated me.
You're all right.
Yeah.
It's full of happiness.
Yeah. The next room I love so much. I don't know how much Enzo liked it a lot, I think.
Wait, did you already show
They
them
don't know
podcast?
what the next room is.
Oh, okay.
Secret.
But
so we can't talk about it.
no, Enzo got to explore new combat options.
Oh.
Not everybody liked the next room.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Which you will see next week.
Oh man, it was pretty fun. Did anyone in the chat? You guys have any questions? Oh, I had to go AFK for a bit. Oh yeah. The answer to the riddle. Yeah. Answer was words or language. Yeah. Does anyone else have any other questions? Shannon, do you have anything that you want to throw out there? I don't know if we kind of covered anything in the itinerary. Fun facts about the music. I was going to mention, we were talking about music stuff recently in Discord. And for those that wanted to know, I had death music planned for every character. So like every character has like sad music in their past. And when Tin puts the bag on the lift, the platform, the Nina's music, which is like it's labeled Tin's Tragedy in my files. That music plays, and then when she takes the bag off, the music stops. And every time she puts the bag on, the music starts because she's gonna die. When did I say this already in the live stream? I think we were talking about it earlier before the stream started.
Yeah, I think it was before the stream.
Okay. But then when Vasa becomes defiant against the room, her music from her intro with the Narmal, that starts to play, and then when she falls, I think I said that. I did say that about the bittersweet music. Yeah.
I do like what you've been doing, which I DM'd you about it.
Yeah.
I do like what you've been doing recently with the music, where it's just kind of like it's like this really like music where there's a moment happening and then someone makes a joke and it's just like
You're just like it's just like stopping, and that's been really fun.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, you're pulling us out of the moment, the music's going to also.
Oh man. The other fun fact I wanted to share was the Archon of Light. That I thought it'd be fun to share that the Archon of Light, when like, because like Tompkins talks about how the Archon of Light as like used to be a custodian and all that, is kind of playing with the fact that the Archon showed up in a previous game. I used to do this thing. I might have mentioned it in a previous World Talkers, but we used to do these things called campaign busters. So every summer when people would come back from college, I'd get together and I would pick a world and I would put it on the line. And the group would have essentially the summer to save it. And if they failed, then I'd kill the world. I would just erase it, tear the notes up or whatever, and then we wouldn't run it anymore. And so what we did was on Vasa's home world, there are these things called living dungeons. You go into the dungeon constantly shifts and evolves and attempts to destroy anyone that comes into it. One of the dungeons had broken free and was traveling from world to world, acquiring aspects of that world, and then break free and shift to another world. And it had landed on this world and was attempting to finally break free and devour this world. And the way that it... Okay. Cool. So...
Oh, no.
The arm broke off. I got it. It's a simple reattach. The way that the dungeon grows more powerful is that it attracts people by offering treasure. And then when people die, the dungeon walls absorb the blood and the souls of people that walk in it, and then it becomes more powerful, and then it can create more levels. Once it has enough blood, it can grow whatever grows deep enough inside of it that breaks free, and then it devours the world. It was like my version of a Tarask. So this pantheon of gods sent its best warriors and like protectors to that world to oversee its destruction, and the Archon of Light was one of them. And since the Ozen Tower shares attributes with the living dungeons of Menroth, that's why the Archon of Light was there. So I thought that was like a little tie in there.
That's really cool.
So there's another little fun fact.
I really like how much you tie in World Walkers to like other stuff you've done, and like because you've mentioned like on the show several times, like, oh, you're doing this because of another campaign, what they decided to do.
I'm glad people like that and don't see it as a crutch. Like, it's like, to me, it's like, fuck, I need to do something. Let's see what I did before. And like everyone else, like, wow, what great storytelling. I'm like, yes, what thoughtful world building. Oh God, I'm out of ideas. What did I do Thursday?
Well, it does make it more real, because it's like one of the things I always like in games is like when the world is real and stuff happens even when the characters aren't there.
No, yeah. I would trying to make fun of myself, but yeah, that's kind of
Pedro.
yeah. Oh God, compliments. No, we were just talking about this. I think with the Rolanus group, is that like I call it the San Dimas clock based off of Bill and Ted.
Oh, yeah.
They explained that like they can do whatever they want. They can use the time. They can use the phone booth to travel in time as much as they want to. But the clock in San Dimas is always running. So I run my games off the same way. That like they were going to bum rush the villain on Wednesday, but they had to do a lot of planning. They had to get their ducks in order, right? But like every day that they spent getting their house in order, the villain was too. So on the first day, he spent getting 12 other Thrycreen to look like him, like using like a kind of like psionic cloning method, so that if the group didn't attack him on day one, now they were going to have to fight 12 people that look like him to cause chaos in the battle. The next day they didn't fight him. He was able to erect like a battle arena to make the fight much more like every day they didn't fight him, he was making the fight more and more difficult. Like, right. And I do that a lot. Like, I take a lot of notes to make sure that like there's always stuff going on every day. That's like the World Walkers are really stressed about that in the podcast right now, where like they know that every time they don't move forward on the story, things are still moving. Like the hobgoblins were gathering their forces with the Kulu fell and all this. Like that's like, I think why, I don't know if you agree with this, Enzo, like why Jane can get very stressed in game, because like the shards are still shuffling around. And
I do like that, like time is a very real factor in your games. Like I like that you do that. I like that they very much so feel the pressure of time, and so they can't do every side quest, because if they do a side quest, then that's going to mean the destruction of the universe, possibly.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go like find this like this really, or go save this village while the entire rest of the world is burning down.
If time weren't a factor, like what are some of like the side quests or side stories or things that you would like to do, Enzo?
If you mean like as in if the big overarching story wasn't a factor?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I would love to just kind of do a simple a simple cafe.
Bird. Mostly.
Just kind of like, hey, let's go kill this undead, this necromancer or whatever in this tomb, you know. That while that feels like it could be a side quest to a bigger campaign, like I feel like the times when we were doing that, we're just like, hey, we're gonna go attack the dwarves, we're gonna go do a thing, that I found was a lot of fun. Just kind of like, hey, we have one goal, we're gonna go do it, and then like we finish it within 1 or 2 sessions or 3.
Yeah,
that's what I really liked. Not to say that I dislike the big story, because I do like kind of having just like a goal that will take kind of a whole season or whatever to complete. So, but either way, no, I just love playing, and I do love what I do like just battles too. I like, you know, like again, because I mentioned before that I feel like I'm not as strong as a role player, so I do like kind of just rolling dice and be like, hey, I do this much damage, this much little damage that Roberto does.
Aim for the butt. That's not a vital spot.
Is there anything that you would change about D&D itself? Like, is there anything about like combat or the rules that you kind of wish? I think like Shannon, you've mentioned before several times on your podcast that like you don't really play D&D. You don't roll the D20 at least with 5e, do you?
So the problem is we play too much D&D, and I've kind of gotten like burnt out on it.
Yeah.
And also like with 5th edition, like they did a lot of things that like I felt were very limiting. Like,
this is a safe place, you can say it.
It just like so the thing is, I like running 5th edition D&D. I don't like playing it. As a player, I don't feel like I have enough options or enough variance from so like if I play one rogue, I've played all of the rogues, whereas in like Pathfinder or 3.5 D&D, like I could make a very different rogue every time, sort of thing. But I have also grown more towards like the like more rules light games, or like more emphasizing like the role playing aspects, which 5th edition does try to do, but I don't think they nailed it quite yet.
Mm-hmm. I know. I think I don't know if you know or not. I never play.
Never?
I've never played 5th edition.
That's so sad.
Is it? I don't like playing.
Oh, it's so sad not to be able to play ever.
Oh yeah, I don't ever play. Like I've only played like a handful of times in my life. I love GMing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is lucky, I guess, for other people.
Yeah.
If they like me as a GM, like it works out really well. Like, I don't ever really want to play. So like it works. Like I said, it works out. But I suspect that might be true for me too. Like I don't know. Like I don't like wizards in 5e, for instance.
Oh yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't like what they've done. I cast Circle of Death as a 20th level wizard on a group last week, and they took like 28 damage, and we all laughed about it. It broke the momentum of the, like, I cast on a bunch of 5th level characters, and we were all like, huh. And we all made fun of, like, me and the rest of the 5th level players made fun of the villain for like the rest of like the last 20 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
we were not impressed. But yeah, I suspect that too. But yeah, is there anything that you don't like about 5th edition, about D&D, Enzo, or things you wish you could do more? Or
I don't like. Let's see. I feel that Rangers are a little bit underpowered.
Oh,
this is
Big
fair.
But other than that, no, I have no other complaints, honestly. Also because I probably didn't roll my character well. Like,
It's like the most recent episode is when when everyone, it's time to start jumping platforms. And like, okay, Roberto, what's your strength? And you're like, 7. And Megan's like, you have a 7 strength?
yeah, modifiers
And
negative.
they're like, why didn't we give you the gauntlets? And it's like, well, we couldn't pass on the pun Myrtle beef.
Yeah, I definitely feel that pain. I just made a character. We're playing Pathfinder in one of my nights, and I just made a character, and I have a 5 strength. It's like I can't even hold my clothes.
I think I read that.
Yeah, it's bad. And there's 2 of us with the 5 strength.
Yeah, Brandy did, right?
Yeah, Brandy and I both rolled a 5 strength. Like we rolled so bad.
Wow.
The innkeeper rule. And so it's like, oh man. Our characters are about as bad as they can get.
Yeah, I do really enjoy running 5e. It's a good balance of like there's enough texture on the rules that it doesn't feel too loose. I don't really run anything else anymore. We tried running the Pathfinder 2nd edition.
Mm-hmm.
That the game reads terrible. There's like some really cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
But reading it feels like trying to like clean my eyes with sandpaper. There's really cool stuff in there, but I could not stand.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, or I've seen that a lot online. I hope that that's just because it's the playtest version, and like when it actually comes out, it's better.
I hope so. There's some really like being in Pathfinder, Enzo, the new one, you take 3 actions around, and it doesn't matter what you do. Essentially, anything takes 3 actions.
Cool.
It's really simple. It's just like, well, cool. I'm gonna move forward twice and then attack, or I'm gonna like bring up my shield, bash him in the face, and then move away, or like it's just really simple and fun.
Can I say something? I kill him. Is that one action?
You can. Speaking's a free action.
Oh.
You can say you kill him, and then you roll to see if you do.
I kill you.
But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. Like Pedro and I have actually had a couple of conversations because I've asked him about GMing and just like being DM, and kind of got a taste for it. Just this other game we played the other day where I kind of like got reactions from other players, and it's just like, oh my god, this is what power feels like. Just like seeing, like being able to kind of like do something that affects them in such a way, and you're just like, oh, the power. No, it's like it's so interesting and very it seems like such a cool thing to be able to
yeah,
do.
I don't know. GMing's my favorite. It's my favorite thing to do. Like, it's just, I don't know, like throwing a story out, watching everybody like react with the story, build on top of it, like interacting with it, like improving with it, watching them like throw curveballs at it and completely destroy it and rebuild it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's the best. Like, it's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I'm definitely at the school. I like both. Like, I think that's why I need so many game nights. Every time that I'm not like able to play and run a game at the same time, I'm like, I'm gonna start up a new game night. I need to go. Because I definitely like both, and like especially like it's the story part of it. But I also like really getting into a character and like being like I guess it's all that's also the story part of it, because I like affecting someone else's world as much as I like bringing a world to people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's like there's I don't know. I really like how much like I always think about like how much the group interacted with just the little section. They didn't really travel a lot to a lot of places on COG,
Mm-hmm.
but they had such a deep impact on the small amount of places they were at on COG.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I really like think about like their interaction with the Brotherhood and yeah, like I don't know. So
And it's gonna be in ruins.
Oh man. So any other questions from the chat? I think we're gonna wrap this up in the next like 2 or 3 minutes, but we'll see if anything comes in. But thank you so much, Enzo, for coming out. I know it's I don't know what day it is there in Canada.
It's Thurwins.
Their wins. That's what I thought.
Mm.
Thanks Shannon for coming out and helping us like in the middle of like I think I just like hit Shannon up and I was like, hey, help. Thanks to the cat for hanging out with us. The cat was very calm and
oh my god,
relaxed.
This cat.
And yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out with us on Saturday. I don't know what's going on with your guys' lives that you were stuck with us, but yeah, I'll see if any questions come in. But yeah, I think that's about it for us. Do you have any other things you want to hit us up with, Shannon?
I was just checking. I was double checking my notes, but I had already double checked them like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. So what's happening with Gamers Table before we go? Season 2 is about to air.
Season 2, the first episode of season 2 has been released to the patrons, whatever. And yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know the release.
And Kickstarter people, right, or no?
Yeah, well, yeah, Kickstarter. Sorry, we group them together.
Okay.
It's easier, so you can get the same benefits from being a Kickstarter backer or being a patron. We kind of asked the people who wanted to support us, like, which would you rather do? And the answer was both. Or like not both, but like half the people wanted to do one and half the people wanted to do other. But yeah, we're starting season 2 up. It should be out probably next week. We're back to recording in our own studio, which is really awesome. It's also a lot nicer than the other places we've recorded, other than the professional studio we did last season. And yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff in-house again, which is really exciting.
Yay!
Yeah.
And then Enzo, anything you want to throw out there? I mean, because like any games that you've got going on?
Oh, well, we're making the official announcement next. What day is it? Yeah, next week on the 3rd. But we do have a mobile game for our comic Dungeon Construction Company, Construction Co. It is we soft launch it, so because we're actually getting like bug feedback and everything from people. But you can
real quick pretend that not everybody knows Dungeon Construction.
Okay, Mike, I do 2 web comics, and one of them is called Dungeon Construction Co. It's about a construction company that built in a medieval fantasy world that builds dungeons specifically to lure in adventurers and then murder them for profit. It's really like if I were to describe it in 3 words, it's stupid but fun. So you can read it at dungeoncomic.com. And we have a mobile game that's out on the Google Play Store and the App Store if you want to check it out. It's an infinite runner, and we would love your feedback.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Like somebody played it on Twitch, didn't they, recently?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm still trying to figure out how to get my phone on the computer. So, but yeah.
Hold it real still, just like stream it like that. Put it up to your camera
the whole time.
Yeah. And then as for World Walkers, new episode on Sunday. World Walkers COG, the first 3 episodes are going up at the same time on Sunday for patrons, and then the public release goes up on Thursday, and then pretty soon we're hiring somebody as an assistant who's going to help us get all the World Walkers Refugees of Rolana stuff up on YouTube. You'll be able to watch all of those, and then they're going to get World Talkers up, put those all the way up. Yeah, so pretty soon you'll be able to see everything from the World Walkers universe up online somehow. So pretty crazy. So thanks to everyone for coming out, either watching us or talking with us. If there's a third option and you did it, I guess thank you for that too. The hell you did. But yeah, so that's it for us. We will see you sometime somewhere. Thanks, guys.
Bye.